Greetings, vloggers, bloggers, followers, and potters. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty again with the second installment of this week's videos. Today we're going to talk about autism and hoarding. So, as you know, autistics have interest. Of course, we all have interest. What one of the principal factors of autistic individuals are is that we have interest. We like things more than others. We like to collect things sometimes, and sometimes that collecting can get out of hand a little bit. So today I want to talk a little bit about that, my experience with it, and the need to sometimes declutterize, organize, so on and so forth. So um, autism and hoarding are somewhat related, but not totally related. They're particularly closely related, but more if it depends on the more of the spectrum. Of course, we know spectrum is on the spectrum is a very wide term. So what one person does is not always the same. So the same is inclusive of comorbid conditions, which include a hoarding tendency. I don't have a diagnosed hoarding tendency, but I can at times, if I get too into my interest, can have a hoarding sort of trait. And that can lead to danger if it's not tended properly or not, brought down to a meager level to where I know I'm not getting out of hand and not feeling the sense that I have control in it. One of those senses that kind of helped in a way because of something that happened last year was, going to thrift shops because if I saw what I bought it was cheap, it was affordable. I always, made sure, I was a very habitual person in a thrift shop. I had an issue last year at my other house. I had to leave, not because of me, but because it was a problem building wide, and I felt it was best that I left to rebuild my life. But it taught me that I need to be more careful in what I do when I collect things, so that it doesn't get out of control because it did. As a matter of fact, I took not but 2 truckloads to the thrift shop to give them back once the drop off opened. And mind you, it was COVID last year, so I had to wait, and and I still had totes now that I still have to go through, even though in my new life, and the year has passed since then, and I'm realizing that I have collected a lot of things. And while I did dig through a good bit of it, I still have more to go. And that I know that I have to have a delicate balance of what I collect versus what I don't collect, versus what is useful, not useful, so on and so forth. So you understanding, what is worth a keeping of a valuable item versus what is not valuable. So you have to have that delicate balance of things, and simplicity is key too. And that helped me a little bit. Being minimalistic while I was in the transition was helpful. It's okay to have a collection of something if you feel if it's healthily cleaned and maintainable and in a nice orderly fashion. It's always good, and it helps the autistic mind. And um, being autistic, that's part of what we want to do. We want to collect things. We want to look at things. We want to be interested in things. It's a part of life. Uh, you know, but you don't want to. But you want to make sure that you don't tip over the board with it, where you're buying useless things you're not going to look up, things you're not going to be interested in, things that you just buy to buy. And I think that was what my problem was that I just bought things because I thought they looked nice, or I might want to look at them, but I don't want to. They may not want to be give me a. I don't want to give them a forever home. And so, if it's nicely organized, or nicely kept up, I think that's the difference. Now, when you get into hoarding, we're talking there can be a various stages of hoarding, just like there are on a spectrum. There can be, various stages where you have a little bit of a unorganized pile of things, and that's okay too. But then when you get where you can't walk or in front of piles and things like that, there's various states of clean, of course, what one sees, what one does. And I've always talked about that, that what one person may not believe is clean and they may keep it to themselves is what one person sees. But as long as, the environment is habitable, and that you can navigate your way through it, and it's clean, it has some state of cleanliness and sanitization, then by all means, you can live a life like that. You just always have to be on the mindset that, being mindful of these things and being alert and understanding that, you know, it's a challenge that you have to face all the time. Is it worth, having, are you going to look at it? Are you going to be interested in it? And, hoarding usually does happen later in life. And, maybe in the mid 30s, that was what I did. And I know I did things because I had a home and I loved my home and I took too much pride in it. And yeah, there's a difference between having too much pride and wanting to show your works off, but who really sees them, things like that. But it's just a delicate balance. That's all it is. It's a delicate balance. Um, you know, Sometimes, it can be, that the TV projects like it's going to be a bad thing. It's going to be a bad thing. You can be born out of them. You can be taught that, you can get out of that behavior. If you like a hobby, you can do it. It's okay. And if you want to collect something, it's okay, but you can't get out of hand. You don't have to keep everything, and some things you can keep in storage and go to them once in a while. But it can be hard to get rid of things. I had a hard time getting rid of things for a long time, and but when I had to leave my home last year, it came to the point where I had to just get rid of it because I knew it was a necessary thing to do to cut down on space, storage space, so on and so forth, and that collecting, something that is not means nothing is nothing, and it's very important to understand that concept. It's you know, it's not not having too much stuff or not cleaning your house. um, it can be so much. Is when you have an attachment to it, that's one thing. But if you don't have an attachment to it, I don't see it having you know more stuff than you should have. Absolutely not. Um, Cleaning your room, you should care about cleaning your space and taking pride in your space first and foremost. You should always feel pride in it, and I do. And having my new environment, I feel like I want to take care of it and I want to keep space and maintain it and have a good lifestyle because I deserve that. I've worked hard for it, and I put in the skills, I put in the drive, and I don't want to get into that whirlwind of hoarding or whirlwind of collecting too much or senseless stuff to get back into it. Now, people do have things, and if they're nice and neat, they can have them. So, it's just all in what you think of it in hoarding. It does happen. Just be aware that it does. And, if you have to get help, get help. I mean, it's just a part of life. So with that, I thank you again for listening to this installment of the series. As always, you can follow me on the internet, dustinsdynastyusa.com. Be sure if you like this video to hit a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content, tap the notification bell so you see my content as it arrives. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, of course. If you like social media, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you at Dustin's Dynasty. You can give me a Dustin's Dynasty USA on Pinterest and Twitter and TikTok. I'm sorry. And and you can listen to my podcast and my blog posts on most streaming platforms. So I thank you, and you have a nice day now, and have a good weekend, everybody. Thank you, and have a good weekend.